You know that moment when life throws you something so unexpected that you freeze? When your heart stops and your mind goes blank because you can't believe what's right in front of you? That's exactly what happened to me on a cold Tuesday night in March. I'm Marcus, 32 years old, and for the past 3 years I've been cleaning office buildings at night. Not the job I dreamed about as a kid, but life has a way of humbling you, doesn't it? See, I used to have it all. A decent job at a marketing firm. A small apartment. Plans for the future. But then my mom got sick. Cancer. Stage 4. And when the medical bills started piling up, I had to make a choice. Keep my career or keep my mother alive. I chose her. Every single time, the treatment drained everything. My savings, my credit, my energy. And when she passed away 2 years ago, I was left with nothing but debt and grief. The marketing firm had replaced me. My apartment was gone. I was sleeping on a friend's couch and taking whatever work I could find. That's how I ended up pushing a mop at 10 p.m. in a fancy downtown office building. Most people never see the night cleaners. We're invisible. We come in after everyone leaves, empty the trash, vacuum the floors, wipe down the desks. We see everything. The forgotten coffee cups. The family photos. The mess people leave behind when they think nobody's watching. But that Tuesday night, I saw something different. I was on the 15th floor, cleaning the executive offices. These were the big shots. Corner offices with views of the city. Leather chairs. Mahogany desks. The kind of luxury I used to dream about. I was emptying a trash can near one of the conference rooms when I noticed something on the floor. Half hidden under a filing cabinet. Brown leather. Expensive looking. A wallet. I bent down and picked it up. It was thick, heavy, and when I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Cash. Stacks of it. $100 bills. Neatly folded. I didn't count it right away. My hands were shaking too much. But I could tell just from looking that this wasn't just a few bucks. Someone dropped. This was serious money. I looked around the empty office. The lights were dim. The building was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Nobody was there. Nobody would know. And for just a second, just one moment, I thought about it. I thought about what $10,000 could do for me. Pay off my debts. Get me back on my feet. Give me a chance to start over. But then I looked at the driver's license inside the wallet, and everything changed. The face staring back at me from that ID was someone I recognized. Not personally. But I'd seen him before, Richard Castellano, age 56. The owner of the building I was cleaning. One of the wealthiest real estate developers in the city. His face was on billboards. In newspapers. This was a man who had everything. And here I was, holding $10,000 of his money. The rational part of my brain kicked in immediately. This wasn't my money. It belonged to someone else. Someone who probably wouldn't even miss it. But that didn't make it mine. I stood there in that empty office for what felt like forever, just staring at that wallet. $10,000. It could change everything for me. But I knew what my mother would say if she were still here. She'd tell me that integrity isn't about what you do when people are watching. It's about what you do when nobody will ever know. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I was going to return it. The wallet had a business card inside with an address. Not the office address. This was residential. A home address in the hills overlooking the city. The wealthy part of town where people had gates and security systems and lives I could only imagine. I finished my shift that night with the wallet safely tucked in my backpack. I barely slept. The next morning, I took 2 buses to get to that address. It took me almost an hour and a half. The houses got bigger and bigger as I climbed into the hills. By the time I reached the street listed on that card, I felt completely out of place. The Castellano house was massive. Not just big, massive. White stone, tall pillars. A circular driveway with a fountain in the middle. The kind of place you see in movies. I walked up to the front gate, pressed the intercom button, and waited. A voice crackled through the speaker. "Yes, hi. My name is Marcus. I work as a cleaner in one of Mr. Castellano's office buildings. I found his wallet, and I wanted to return it. There was a pause. Then the voice said, "One moment, please." The gate buzzed and slowly swung open. My heart was pounding as I walked up that long driveway. I felt like I was walking into a different world. The front door opened before I even reached it. A woman stood there, mid-50s, elegant, perfectly styled hair, designer clothes. She looked at me with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "You're the cleaner?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. I found this last night." I pulled the wallet from my backpack and held it out. Her eyes widened. She took it, opened it, and I saw the relief flood her face. "My God," she whispered. "Richard has been looking everywhere for this." He was in a panic. "Do you have any idea what this means?" I shook my head. "I just wanted to make sure he got it back." She looked at me for a long moment. Really looked at me. Like she was trying to figure something out. "Wait here," she said. She disappeared back into the house. I stood on that doorstep feeling awkward and out of place. A few minutes later, she returned, and she wasn't alone. Richard Castellano himself walked out. He was tall, distinguished, the kind of man who commanded attention just by being in a room, and he was holding his wallet. "You're Marcus?" he asked. "Yes, sir. My wife tells me you found this in my office building, that you brought it all the way here." "Yes, sir." It was under a filing cabinet on the 15th floor. He opened the wallet, checked the contents, and then looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Everything's here. All of it." He paused. "Do you know how much money is in here?" "I didn't count it, sir, but it looked like a lot." $10,000, he said. "And you brought it back." I nodded. "It's not mine." He studied me for another moment. Then he pulled out $500 bills and held them out.
"Out for your honesty?"
"Thank you." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to take it. $500 would help, but something about it felt wrong. Like taking that money would somehow cheapen what I'd done. "I appreciate it, Mr. Castellano, but I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because it was the right thing to do." His eyebrows raised. His wife looked shocked. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes, sir. I'm sure." He smiled. Actually smiled. "What's your full name, Marcus?" "Marcus Webb." "Oh, Marcus Webb. I think I'd like to talk to you some more. Would you mind coming inside for a few minutes?" And that's when my life started to change in ways I never could have imagined. Richard Castellano's house was even more impressive on the inside. High ceilings, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than I'd make in 10 years. But what struck me most was how normal it felt. Like, despite all the wealth, this was still a home. There were family photos on the walls, comfortable furniture. The smell of coffee brewing. Mrs. Castellano brought me a cup and gestured for me to sit in the living room. Richard sat across from me, studying me with those sharp businessman eyes. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus," he said. So I did. I told him about my mom, about losing everything to pay for her treatment, about the jobs I'd lost and the struggle to get back on my feet. I told him about working nights as a cleaner because it was the only steady work I could find. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "I'm sorry about your mother," he finally said. "Cancer took my father too. I know what those bills look like." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Here's the thing, Marcus. I've been in business for 35 years. I've met thousands of people, employees, partners, competitors. And you know what I've learned? Integrity is rare. Real integrity. The kind where someone does the right thing, even when it costs them something." He leaned forward. "You could have kept that money. Nobody would have known. I wouldn't have known, but you didn't. Took 2 buses to return something that wasn't yours. That tells me something about who you are." I didn't know what to say to that. "I have a proposition for you," he continued. "I'm always looking for good people, people I can trust. How would you feel about coming to work for me? Not as a cleaner. As an assistant in my property management division?" I almost choked on my coffee. "Sir, I don't have experience in property management." But you have something better. Character. And I can teach someone with character anything else they need to know. I can't teach integrity. You either have it or you don't. Mrs. Castellano smiled at me. Richard's a good judge of people. Marcus. When he sees something in someone, he's usually right. The pay would be $45,000 a year to start, Richard said, plus benefits, health insurance, dental. And if you prove yourself, there's room to grow. $45,000. I was making barely $20,000 as a cleaner. This was more than double. This was a real chance. I don't know what to say, I managed. Say yes, Richard said with a grin. Come in Monday morning. 9 a.m., I'll introduce you to the team, and we'll get you started. I felt tears prickling at my eyes. I tried to blink them back. Thank you, Mr. Castellano. You have no idea what this means to me. Call me Richard. And I think I do know. We all need a break sometimes, Marcus. Someone to believe in us. Consider this yours. I left that house walking on air. I couldn't believe what had just happened. One honest decision. One choice to do the right thing, and my entire life had changed in a single morning. Or at least, that's what I thought. I had no idea that this was just the beginning. That returning that wallet hadn't just changed my life. It had set in motion a chain of events that would expose secrets, destroy relationships, and teach me that sometimes the people who seem the most trustworthy are the ones hiding the darkest truths. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened next. That weekend felt like a dream. I kept expecting to wake up and find out it was all in my imagination. But Monday morning came, and the job was real. I showed up at the Castellano property, group offices at 8:45. Early, I wasn't going to risk being late for this opportunity. The office was everything I'd imagined. Modern, professional, floor-to-ceiling. Windows with views of the city. Richard met me in the lobby personally and walked me upstairs to the property management floor. He introduced me to the team. There was David, the property manager, who oversaw all the residential buildings. Sarah, who handled commercial properties. And then there was James Pritchard, Richard's nephew. And the director of operations. He was maybe polished, expensive suit, perfect hair. And when Richard introduced me, James's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. So you're the honest janitor, he said, shaking my hand just a little too firmly. Cleaner, I corrected gently. And yeah, I guess that's me. Well, welcome to the team, Marcus. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Something about his tone bothered me, but I pushed it aside. This was my fresh start. I wasn't going to let anything ruin it. Richard set me up at a desk and started teaching me the basics. Property management was more complex than I'd realized. Tenant relations, maintenance scheduling, financial reports, vendor negotiations, but I soaked it all in like a sponge. I wasn't going to waste this chance. The first few weeks flew by. I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. I came in early, stayed late, asked questions, took notes, and slowly I started to understand not just how the business worked, but how Richard worked. He was brilliant, tough but fair. He treated everyone with respect, from the maintenance crews to the executives, and he had a way of seeing potential in people that others missed. But I also started to notice something else, something that made me uncomfortable. James was always watching me, always making little comments. Marcus, you don't need to try so hard. Hey Marcus, you're making the rest of us look bad, it was all said with a laugh, but there was an edge to it. Like he resented my presence. One afternoon, about a month into the job, I was in the file room looking for some lease agreements when I overheard voices from the hallway. It was James, and he was on the phone. I'm telling you, this is ridiculous, he was saying. His voice was low but angry. My uncle hires some random janitor off the street, and now the guy thinks he's going to climb the ladder. It's insulting. There was a pause as the person on the other end spoke. I don't care if he returned a wallet. That doesn't make him qualified. Richard's getting soft in his old age. Sentimental. And it's going to cost him. Another pause. No, I'm handling it. Trust me, Marcus Webb won't be a problem for long. My blood ran cold. I pressed myself against the filing cabinet, barely breathing. James's footsteps faded down the hallway, and I was left standing there with my heart pounding. He was planning something. Something to get rid of me. But what and why? I hadn't done anything to threaten him. I was just trying to do my job and be grateful for the opportunity, unless that was exactly the problem. Maybe James saw me as a threat not because of what I'd done, but because of what I represented. Richard's favor, a challenge to his position. I finished my work in the file room and went back to my desk. But my mind was racing. I needed to be careful. Very careful. Because I was starting to realize that this new life I'd been given came with complications I hadn't anticipated. And in the world of business and family politics, sometimes the biggest threat isn't the enemy you can see. It's the one smiling to your face while sharpening a blade behind their back. Over the next 2 months, I kept my head down and did my work. But I also started watching James more carefully. And the more I watched, the more I saw. He was smooth, charming with clients, respectful to Richard, but there were little things. Discrepancies in reports, meetings he took alone without documentation, vendors who seemed nervous when his name came up. I didn't have proof of anything, just a gut feeling that something wasn't right. Then came the incident that almost destroyed everything. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was working on a financial report for one of our commercial properties when Sarah from accounting stopped by my desk. "Hey Marcus, did you approve this expense report?" She handed me a printout. I looked at it. It was for maintenance work on one of our downtown buildings. $50,000 for emergency repairs to the HVAC system. And at the bottom, there was a signature. My signature, except I hadn't signed it. I'd never even seen this report before. "No," I said slowly. "This isn't my signature." Sarah frowned. "Are you sure? It came through the system under your authorization code." "Right." "My authorization code. The password I used to access the company financial systems." "Sarah, I'm telling you, I didn't approve this. Someone must have used my code." She looked uncomfortable. "Marcus, that's a serious accusation. Who would have access to your code?" "I don't know. But I'm telling you the truth. I didn't authorize this." "I need to take this to Richard," she said quietly. My stomach dropped. "I understand." 10 minutes later, I was called into Richard's office. James was there too, and he looked concerned. Sympathetic even. Richard sat behind his desk, the expense report in front of him. "Marcus, Sarah tells me there's a problem with this authorization." "Yes, sir." "That's not my signature, and I never approved that expense." "But it has your authorization code," Richard said. "I know, sir. I can't explain that. But I'm telling you the truth. I didn't approve this." James leaned forward. "Marcus, we're not accusing you of anything. But you have to understand how this looks. $50,000 is a lot of money. And if someone is using your code, that's a major security breach." "I agree," I said, "which is why we need to investigate this." Richard sighed. He looked tired, disappointed. "Marcus, I'm going to need you to take a few days off while we look into this. With pay," he added quickly. "But until we understand what happened, I can't have you accessing the financial systems." "Richard, I didn't do this." "I want to believe you," he said. "But I need to verify everything. You understand, don't you? What choice did I have?" "Yes, sir." As I left the office, James followed me out. "Hey, Marcus, wait up." I turned. He had that same sympathetic look on his face. "I know this is tough," he said quietly. "But between you and me, I believe you. You're not the kind of guy who would do something like this." "Thanks," I said, though something about his tone rang false. "In fact, I have a theory, but I need to check some things out first. Give me a couple days, okay? I'll see what I can find." I nodded and left the building, my mind spinning. Someone had set me up. Someone had used my code to authorize a fraudulent expense. And I had a pretty good idea who that someone was, James, but how could I prove it? I had no evidence. No way to show that he'd accessed my account. And if I accused him without proof, I'd just look desperate. like I was trying to blame someone else for my mistake. I spent the next 3 days in agony. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. This job was everything to me, the chance to rebuild my life. And someone was trying to take it away. On the third day, my phone rang. It was Richard. "Marcus, can you come back to the office? I need to talk to you." My heart sank. This was it. He was going to fire me. I'd lost everything again. But when I walked into his office, what I saw changed everything. Richard wasn't alone. There was another man in the office, 50s, stern face. He was wearing a badge on his belt. "Marcus, this is Detective Morrison," Richard said. "He's been investigating some irregularities in our accounts." A detective. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might burst. "Sit down, Marcus," the detective said. It wasn't a request. I sat. "I've been reviewing the financial records for Castellano Property Group," Morrison said, "and I've found something interesting. That $50,000 expense report, the one with your authorization code, it was sent to a vendor that doesn't exist." "What?" I said. "The company listed on that report. Peak Maintenance Solutions. There's no such company. The business registration is fake. The address is a P.O. box. And the bank account it was supposed to be paid into? Opened 3 weeks ago with falsified documents." Oh. I felt dizzy. "I don't understand. What does this mean?" "It means someone was trying to embezzle $50,000 from the company," Richard said quietly. "And they were trying to make it look like you did it." "But I didn't," I protested. "We know," Morrison said. "Because we tracked the activity. The fake authorization didn't come from your computer. It came from a different terminal in the building. And when we checked the security footage, we saw who was sitting at that terminal." He pulled out a tablet and turned it toward me. On the screen was surveillance footage from the office, time-stamped from 2 weeks ago. Late evening, and there, clear as day, was James Pritchard, sitting at a desk that wasn't his, typing on the computer. "We also found emails," Morrison continued. "Communications between James and a partner outside the company. They've been planning this for months. Small embezzlements. Fake vendors. False expenses. They'd stolen over $200,000 from the company over the past year." I couldn't breathe. "James did this?" "James did all of it," Richard said. His voice was hard, cold, including setting you up to take the fall. "We found messages where he specifically talked about using you as a scapegoat. He thought, because you were new, because you came from nothing, nobody would believe you if you protested." I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and fierce. "He tried to destroy me." "He tried," Morrison said. "But he underestimated 2 things. First, he underestimated how thorough Richard is when investigating his own company. And second, he underestimated you. Me," I said. Richard smiled. A small, grim smile. "After you left the office that day, I didn't just sit back. I knew you, Marcus. I knew your character, and I knew something didn't add up. So I called in forensic accountants and started an investigation. That's when we found everything." "Where is he now?" I asked. "In custody," Morrison said. "Arrested this morning. His partner, too. They'll both be facing multiple felony charges." I should have felt relieved, vindicated, but all I felt was exhausted, sad. Because despite everything James had done, he was Richard's nephew. Family. "Sorry, Richard," I said quietly. He looked at me, surprised. "What do you have to be sorry for? This is your nephew, your family, and my being here somehow caused this." Richard shook his head firmly. "No, Marcus. James did this. His greed. His choices. You didn't cause anything. In fact, you being here is probably the only reason we caught him. He got sloppy trying to set you up. If he just continued his small embezzlements, we might never have noticed."
Morrison
stood up. "I'll need a formal statement from you, Marcus. But from everything we've found, you're completely clear. In fact, you're a victim here too." After the detective left, Richard and I sat in silence for a moment. I need to ask you something, Richard finally said. When you found my wallet that night, when you brought it back, did you ever imagine any of this? I laughed. It came out bitter. No, sir. I just wanted to do the right thing. And you did. You keep doing the right thing, Marcus. Even when it's hard. Even when people try to use it against you. That's who you are. Stood up and held out his hand. Welcome back. And I'm giving you James's job. Director of Operations. If you want it? I stared at him. Richard, I've only been here a few months. I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than you think. And more importantly, I trust you. That's worth more than any degree or years of experience. So what do you say? I shook his hand. Yes, sir. Thank you. But even as I accepted, even as I felt the weight of this new responsibility, I knew the story wasn't quite over. Because in my experience, betrayal always leaves scars. And some people don't forgive easily. James was in custody. But his story was about to intersect with mine in one final, unexpected way. 3 weeks later, I was settling into my new role as Director of Operations. It was challenging. Sometimes overwhelming, but I was learning fast, and Richard was patient with my mistakes. Then one day a letter arrived at the office, addressed to me personally, no return address. I opened it at my desk during lunch break. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten. Marcus, I know you're probably wondering why I did what I did. The truth is, I resented you from the moment my uncle brought you in. Not because of anything you did wrong, but because of what you represented. You were everything I wasn't. Honest, genuine, grateful for opportunities, instead of entitled to them. My uncle looked at you the way he used to look at me when I was younger. Before I disappointed him so many times, he stopped expecting better. I couldn't stand it. So I tried to destroy you. I wanted you to fail so I could feel superior again. But the joke's on me, isn't it? Because now I've lost everything, and you have the life I threw away. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just telling you the truth. Sometimes the person you become isn't the person you wanted to be. And sometimes, by the time you realize it, it's too late to go back. I hope you do better with the chances you've been given than I did with mine. James, I read the letter 3 times. Each time, I felt a different emotion. Anger, pity, sadness, and finally, understanding. James wasn't evil. He was broken, eaten up by jealousy and insecurity until he made choices that destroyed him. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer, not to forget, but to remember, because this whole experience had taught me something important. Success isn't just about the opportunities you're given. It's about what you do with them. It's about the choices you make when nobody's watching. The integrity you maintain even when it costs you. I'd returned a wallet because it was the right thing to do, and that choice had changed my life. But it had also revealed something crucial. Character isn't tested when things are easy. It's tested when things are hard. When you're tempted, when you're scared, when you're desperate. James had failed those tests. But I was determined not to. 6 months later, I was walking through one of our office buildings doing a routine inspection. It was late evening. Most people had gone home, and I saw him, a young guy. Maybe he was pushing a cleaning cart down the hallway. He looked tired, worn down, like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. I recognized that look. I'd seen it in the mirror for years. "Hey," I called out. He turned, startled. "Yes, sir? What's your name?" "Carlos, sir." "How long have you been working here, Carlos?" "About 4 months. I work nights." "Cleaning crew. It's good work," I said. "Honest work." He nodded, looking uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure why this executive was talking to him. "Can I tell you something, Carlos? 3 years ago, I was doing exactly what you're doing. Night shift, cleaning offices, barely making ends meet." His eyes widened. "Really? Really? And you know what changed my life? One moment. One choice. I found something that didn't belong to me, and I returned it. And that simple act of integrity opened doors I never imagined." Carlos was staring at me now, really listening. I'm not saying that's going to happen for you, I continued. Life doesn't work on guarantees. But I am saying this. Keep doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when nobody sees, even when it costs you. Because the person you are when nobody's watching, that's who you really are. And that matters more than you know. He nodded slowly. Thank you, sir. I'll remember that. And Carlos, if you ever need anything, advice, help, a reference, you come find me. My office is on the 15th floor. Marcus Webb, Director of Operations.
I will, sir.
Thank you. I watched him push his cart down the hallway and disappear around the corner. And I smiled, because that's what this whole experience had taught me. Success isn't just about climbing the ladder. It's about reaching back and helping others climb too. Richard had given me that chance. And now it was my responsibility to pay it forward. So here's what I learned from finding a wallet with $10,000 inside. First, integrity is never wasted. Even when it feels like doing the right thing costs you something in the moment, it's building your character. And character is the only thing you truly own in this life. Nobody can take it from you unless you give it away. Second, people are watching. Maybe not in the moment. Maybe not immediately. But eventually who you are comes through in everything you do. Richard saw my character in one choice. James revealed his character in 100 small compromises until they became one massive betrayal. Third, opportunities often come disguised as challenges. Finding that wallet wasn't just about returning money. It was a test, a moment where I had to choose between what I wanted and what was right. And making the right choice opened doors I never could have opened myself. Fourth, jealousy and entitlement destroy people from the inside. James had every advantage: family connections, education, experience. But he threw it all away because he couldn't stand seeing someone else succeed. That's a prison of your own making. And finally, the most important lesson. Your story isn't written by where you start. It's written by the choices you make along the way. I started as a night cleaner with nothing but debt and grief. James started as the privileged nephew of a wealthy businessman. And look where we both ended up. Not because of luck, not because of fate, but because of choices. I keep that wallet story as a reminder, not the wallet itself. Richard tried to give it to me as a memento, but that felt wrong. But I keep the memory, the lesson, the moment when I had to choose between need and integrity, and I chose integrity because in the end, that's all any of us have. Our choices, our character, the legacy we leave and the lives we touch. I found a wallet with $10,000, and it taught me that the most valuable things in life can't be counted in cash. They're counted in moments of truth, in choices made when nobody's watching. In integrity, that costs you everything, but gives you something worth far more: a life you can be proud of, a person you can respect. When you look in the mirror, and the knowledge that when life tests you, when the world pushes you to compromise, to cheat, to take the easy way out, you can stand firm and say, no, that's not who I am. That's worth more than any amount of money. That's worth everything. My name is Marcus Webb. I used to clean offices at night. Now I run them. And it all started with one simple choice: to do the right thing, even when nobody was watching.